Welcome to the show. This is the Dickson County Election 2022 podcast. I'm your host, Justin Spurlock. I have a newspaper column that I write every Wednesday in the Dickson Post about local Dickson County history, and I also host a radio show on WDKN every Saturday morning. The purpose of this podcast is to give the listeners of Dickson County a little more information about local political candidates that are running in this upcoming election season. Today, I've got Mr. Garland Breeden, who is running for the office of Mayor of Charlotte. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming in. I really appreciate you coming into the studio with me today to talk a little bit more about yourself and why you've decided to run. First question I want to ask you is basically just I would like you to tell a little bit more about yourself, and for the people who are listening who may not know who you are, a little bit about your early life, your background, and kind of what led you to this point.
Sure. Thanks again for the opportunity. My name is Garland Breeden. I was raised and grew up in the little town of Charlotte. Went to school, Charlotte Elementary and Charlotte Junior High, and then attended Dickson County Senior High and graduated from there in 1978. After that, I met my wife, Connie, and we were married in 1982 and been married ever since. We have two wonderful children, and we've got two grandchildren, I should say. But I began after my education working at the local grocery store, what is now Murphy CB. And I worked there a few years, and then I went to work in 1988 for the Dickson Electric System. And I worked my way up there into management position, where I was manager over the entire metering department for the last 8 years, up until this past February, in which I retired. So I spent 33 years and about 4 months working at that job, and it was certainly a wonderful job. I enjoyed it because a lot of it was outside, and then some of it was inside work, and I'm one that likes to see different scenery from time to time, and if you're not aware of it, Dickson Electric System serves over 7 counties, basically not the entire counties, but parts of 7 counties. So you never were really working in the same spot. You were out in different areas, different times of the month, and I really enjoyed that. And during that entire time, I was also a minister, and I preached and helped and worked with 3 of the churches here located in Dickson County, and I have retired from that after 36 years of preaching, but I still am an active member in the church and work in the community helping others when they need it.
Well, look, I'm a big fan of Charlotte. I love that little community. It's a very special place. It's for people who don't know a lot about Dickson County. Charlotte is the county seat. It's kind of in the center of the county, and it goes all the way back to 1804, just a year after the county was formed. It was designated as the county seat, and it's always been relatively a rural little community, and it's grown, though, a lot in the past few years. If you don't mind, tell me just a little bit about what it was like growing up in Charlotte, and kind of the changes that have happened from the early days to now, because it's still relatively rural, but it is growing.
Right. Being a small child in the 60s, in the early 70s, I would always tell people when we went to school, we lived so close to the school, which we were about 1/4 of a mile away, we couldn't ride the school bus. We had to walk. And but that was okay because there were probably 6 or 8 of us around the same age, and we met every morning and headed out to school, and then when school was out, we headed back home. So it was it was really nice living in that time. And on the weekends, we didn't get to come to Dixon that often, but when we did, it certainly was a pleasure and a joy to get out and be able to come down to downtown Dixon. But most of the time, us boys spend our time riding our bicycles down on the square and then back home. We enjoyed playing baseball in the summer, football in the fall, basketball. Matter of fact, the house that I grew up in, which is right now beside the house I live in, I had the community basketball court. I had a neighbor that was a pipe fitter, and he put together a really good gold post and gold for me, and he set it out there, and we would have kids all over the community coming and playing, and sometimes we would play on up into the night. So it was certainly a good time growing up there. I enjoyed it, and so much so that I've never left. So I really like the small town atmosphere, and yes, it has started to grow, but everything and everywhere else is growing as well. So we've got to try to keep the small town atmosphere, but in the same time, we've got to look at the growth that's taking place now, and of course, I'm for it. I mean, I enjoy seeing the new businesses that have recently come into the town that is starting to draw others from other counties there. So that gives them the opportunity to see the small historic town, especially if they travel down and drive around the square. They see the oldest courthouse that's still in operation in the state of Tennessee. They see the courthouse that was built to replace a lot of the offices in the old courthouse, and now they can even see a beautiful building called the Justice Center. And I mean, if you ask me, probably 15, 20, 30 years ago, if I'd ever thought something like that would be in Charlotte, I'd say no. But it certainly has added, to the beauty of the small town, the historic small town.
It's definitely beautiful, and I was just in Charlotte a few days ago, as I mentioned to you before we started recording here, talking to Willie Spate, who is a resident of Charlotte there, lifelong resident, owns the Mallory and Leach building there, and we talked Saturday morning on WDKN a little bit about the history of Charlotte, and it was just really interesting. You look at, there's kind of like 3 courthouses now. We don't really want to call them that. We got one courthouse, then you got the annex to the courthouse where the mayor works, and a lot of other administrative offices and things like that. But the new Justice Center it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful. It almost looks a little out of place. Looks like something that could be in downtown Nashville, but it looks great against the backdrop of the hill there and the woods and the trees, and it's, even though it's a big building, it kind of does fit in a weird kind of a way to the small town. It does. It's a good looking building. Well, anyways, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of background on yourself and growing up in Charlotte. So let's go ahead and get into the race just a little bit. And so what exactly are you running for? It's the mayor of Charlotte, right? Mayor of Charlotte, that's correct. And of course, many people may know that there has been a guy who's been in that position for a long time, and he's stepping away from that position, so it's going to be somebody new. Very interesting that you decided to jump into the race. Will you just explain a little bit about what the mayor does? Because you got the mayor of Dixon, you got the mayor, the county mayor, Bob Ryle, and then you've got the mayor of Charlotte, and some people may get those things kind of mixed up. Can you just kind of basically explain who is the mayor, what does he do basically? Okay, yeah, the current mayor now is Billy Davis, which has done a great, wonderful job for the little town of Charlotte. Like I say, it doesn't have a lot of businesses to be financially capable of doing maybe a lot of things that people would like to see done, but nevertheless, Mayor Davis has done a wonderful job, and basically he oversees the functions of the city and within the city. He has done many great things over the last few years to
bring the city up to a financial state where it's really it's in a good position to where now that we can, maybe with the help of government grants and things like that, hopefully we can have some things to go into the city to invest in, and by that I mean I have so many people, when I decided to run, ask me how I felt about doing certain things, and I thought it was rather interesting that some of the things that are being brought up are some of the things that I'd like to see. Really now Charlotte has a great baseball field, for the kids to play baseball in the summer, and that's a great thing. I played baseball from the time I was 8 years old till I was 18. And so I'm not trying to take away from that, but I'd like to see some other things in the city that other children that don't play baseball or softball can do. So, one of the ideas that I have is maybe putting in a little park with recreational facilities there for kids to climb and swing and slide and just whatever they enjoy doing. And I'm not opposed. I mean, I never thought that it would be that much fun, but to see these water splash pads go in, how much kids enjoy that, and I'm not opposed, and would like to see something like that in our city. And I know that, in White Bluff and the city of Dixon have built skateboard parks. We've got skateboarders in Charlotte. We see them all the time, and just to provide activities for those children that, and not only children, but young adults and us older adults as well, just a place to go and just relax and watch our children have fun.
I think that you're right. There's a lot of that stuff going on. You see Dixon, especially over at the old Country Club golf course that was purchased after it went out of business. Now it's Hensley Park, and they've got a big project going there. And you go around to a lot of these other communities. I saw a really cool park in Murfreesboro, and I visited there recently. And so those things are very popular, and that's very interesting that you bring that up, because that's a lot of the things that people are talking about. The next question I want to ask you is, so it definitely seems like you've got some ideas and some things that you want to do, but what really motivated you to run for this particular office? I know that you're from Charlotte, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show. You grew up here your whole life, but in addition to that, what made you decide, to get involved, and why now?
Yeah, getting involved has been in the family. My father served on council years ago. My brother also served on the council and still serves on the Planning and Zoning Commission today. And I guess one of the things that sort of influenced me is that the leadership that we've had over there in the city in the last few years, with the mayor and the councilmen that have sat on council, to see that I think they are pushing and heading Charlotte in the right direction with the growth that's going to come. And so I think they've done a real good job, and that's something that I'd like to see continue. I know that they're going not only be a new mayor elected in Charlotte this year, but there's also going to be 4 new councilmen. So it's going to be a big job to have, you might say, either 4, possibly 5 people that's in office that's never held a political office, before. But I think with my background in management and having to provide our entire electric system with the metering infrastructure that I had to do over the last 8 years, I think it gives me kind of a little idea of what it might be like. So, yeah, I mean, I want to see Charlotte, continue going in the right direction, which is where I think it's headed right now.
And you already hit on it a little bit, but my next question was going to be, what kind of experience or characteristics in your personality or experiences that you've been through, make you qualified or make you the right person for this job? Because as you mentioned, we got a lot of new people coming in that may not know a lot about what's going on, and growth continues.
Right.
There's still going to be those building permits coming in, and you see these, even a new Mexican restaurant recently. Dairy Queen's not that old. There are a lot of challenges coming up the road, but what and I know you already talked a little bit about your previous job, but any other things that might make you qualified for this position?
Yeah, well, I think one thing that's very helpful is being somebody or someone that sits and listens to other people, the people of the city, and that's one thing that I've certainly always been open to, not just city issues, but whatever issues they have. I'm the kind of person that's not going to listen to someone file a complaint or make a suggestion and jump to a conclusion with an answer. I'm going to sit down and think about it and think of the best way that it can be handled. I kind of dealt with that with Dixon Electric. I know every year in the middle of winter, in the middle of summer, the high bills start reaching our houses or our homes, and how can our bills be that high? Well, I get a lot of phone calls, and you have to try to explain and have to kind of guide the customer. What makes your electric bill jump $100 or $150, in August, or the same thing in January. So, I think I have certainly enough experience of being able to listen, to sit down and talk with, any problems or any issues or anything that, like I said, open suggestions. Because, like I said, Charlotte's growing. It's not growing fast, not like Dixon or Nashville or any place like that, but it is growing. And, like you mentioned, the new Mexican restaurant that's recently been put in. Also, there's the Country View Market. There's another little business down there right at the three-way stop called Sweet Charlotte's. If you drive by there most any day, or especially on the weekends, you're going to see most of the cars are coming from out of the county and doing business there. And so if we can continue to have some attractions, there in town, maybe it'll draw a few more.
And they definitely draw people from a long. I can't go. I have to go every week to the Country View Market, because there are certain things that only they carry that I really enjoy. So I have to go there at least once a week. And same thing with Murphy CB. They have certain meats and things like that I prefer to get from their store. Exactly. And so I make a trip out to Charlotte at least once a week. And I know I can't be the only one. And I also like to stop by Sweet Charlotte, by the way. I love that little place. It's an awesome. I remember when I can't remember how long ago it was, but I'm a big fan of country music, and Brooks and Dunn, Ronnie Dunn. Yeah. Singer for the group, came all the way from wherever he lives, I think out in Leapers Fork or somewhere in Williamson County, and drove all the way out there just to get some popcorn. And then they took a picture with him, put it on social media. But when you mentioned people coming from all around, that sort of jumped to my memory, and then I recall myself going out there. So Charlotte definitely has those things that people want to come visit. It's very unique, like you mentioned before, the historic aspect, and I love your ideas about bringing in certain parks and things like that. So there's a lot of positive things, but I hate to kind of shift to negative, but what sort of, and I know you probably thought about this, and I hate to put you on the spot, but as somebody who's running for office, I talked to somebody the other day and said, the work begins if you finally do win, and if you win, there's going to be problems in the future. What kind of issues down the road do you see with Charlotte? Maybe what kind of problems do you anticipate? And then maybe what are some solutions to those problems? I know you probably brainstormed on that before, but like sewer, or a growing, having to build more schools, or what might be some potential problems down the road that we might face out there in Charlotte?
Well, I do know that there were some, I don't want to call them major issues with the sewer system, but there were some issues, especially when we would get some of those torrential rainstorms that we would get. For some reason, it wasn't working properly, and I'm not sure how much the city has just recently spent on fixing that problem, but it seems to be fixed. But there are some still other issues that they're having with their sewer pots. And my understanding is money has already been set aside and new pots are being purchased and going to be replaced in the near future. So that's a part that's ongoing. You know, it's not going to be something that's going to be new to me if I'm elected, that I'll be faced with. So the sewer system does have some issues, but those issues are being addressed as we speak, and hopefully by the end of the year, any issues that we have now will be resolved. The only thing that has really bothered me is litter. You can't drive down any city street or county road and there not be litter. So, you know, one of the things that I want to try to do is to encourage people, let's keep the town clean. You know, if you see a piece of litter in the ditch in front of your yard, pick it up, throw it away. I know, and I guess the one that has really given me the idea of this is my son. And so one day he called and he said, I want to go by on the roadside and let's pick up litter. And I said, okay, no problem. So we went and got garbage bags. He lives about a mile east of the three-way stop. So we headed down Spring Street, it's called, but we always called it Highway 49 East, going toward Ashland City. So he and I started at his driveway, and we both walked toward Charlotte, toward downtown. We picked up 13 bags of litter.
Wow.
And, you know, and then I know that it's an ongoing thing. And I'm thinking that a lot of the people that might be doing this are actually citizens, you know, because these are the people that's traveling our roads. And, you know, I have a pet peeve about seeing trash on the side of the road. And another thing, which I really like, is nice, clean-cut lawns. And I always get made fun of because I mow mine in my mom's yard, which is right beside me. And I will usually mow it in one direction and turn around and mow it turn right back around and go in the same path in a different direction. But the right-of-ways, I would like to try to see at least, you know, Dixon does a great job, I think, of keeping the right-of-ways, you know, cut and cleaned. And of course, really the only thing that Charlotte's ever done was waited for the state contractor to come through to mow the right-of-ways. I want to try to you know, let's do a little better job at that, because like I said, you've got all these people now coming in to visit Country View, Sweet Charlotte's. You know, I want it to look nice. You know, I want the town to, you know, it's a healthy place. You know, it's been that way my entire life. I want to see it stay that way. So let's help keep it clean, you know, for those people that are coming in here from other counties and other states, and, you know, doing business with us, bringing business to Charlotte, which in turns helps Charlotte.
Now, I've heard that they are maybe possibly building a community center in Charlotte. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, I know a little. I know that if you're coming into Charlotte down at the three-way stop, over on the right, there's the old block building that the Lions Club meets in. My understanding is that they're going to be tearing it down and constructing a new community center there. And I think that they are waiting maybe on the Army Corps engineers to do their dirt work study. But the plans have already been drawn, and I think they're just waiting on the results of that to let the building itself go out for bid, so they can get started on it. And, you know, that's another community building. It's going to be there for the community to use. And so, which I think is a good thing. It's also going to take away something that's been there for several years, and we're gonna add something new there. And of course, that, like I said, that's something else that's already in the process, and hopefully we'll soon see that take off and have a new community center.
And that's the tough part of progress sometimes is, you want to improve, and in order to improve, sometimes you have to change things. And I know Charlotte loves its history, and so it's tough to take away something to put something new there, but I do think it'll probably be a very positive thing for the community.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on the show today and taking the time just to connect with the listeners here and give them, an opportunity to learn something about you. Now, if I were to run into you, on the square in Charlotte, we were to cross paths, and I were to ask you, hey, why should I vote for you? We got this election coming up, and a tough decision has to be made, and sort of an elevator pitch. If you only had maybe 30 or 60 seconds to talk to somebody and try to convince them to vote for you, what would you say?
Well, I think I just have to repeat something that I said earlier, that if you like the direction the little town of Charlotte's headed, then, I want it to go or keep going in that direction. So, I'm not saying that it wouldn't with the other candidate, but I just, I think that having the history of growing up, living in Charlotte my entire life, I want to do what's best for the city of Charlotte and for the citizens of Charlotte.
Now, how if somebody has a question for you, because we only got into the basics here, but maybe some people out there who are listening to the show and they think of a specific question that they want to ask you, or maybe they just want to talk to you, or they're trying to make a decision here. How would they be able to get in touch with you?
Well, they can either call me on my cell phone. That number is 615-878-0185, and if I don't answer the phone, please leave a short message with all the scammers and things that's out there this day and time. If I don't recognize the number, I usually don't answer it. But if you'll leave me a message, I will be more than happy to get back with you. Or you can email me at Breeden G, that's BREEDEN G, @bellsouth.net, and I will certainly respond to your email, and then if we can get together or need to get together and have a sit down and talk, I'll be more than happy to do that.
Are there any upcoming events or special appearances that you'll be doing where you might want to mention while we're on the show here? I know there's a lot of different things going on this summer, but do you know of anything specifically at this time?
I don't know of anything specifically, which if I would have been able to have done this earlier, I would have told you that you could probably see me down at the Promised Land Festival that occurred this past weekend. I was down there and mainly to get back and be reacquainted with some of the guys that I went to school with, grew up with, played basketball with, played football with, and so we had a wonderful time.
That was a great festival, wasn't it?
It was.
It was nice to see all the people out there. I only got to go for a few minutes, but it was fantastic.
Yeah, it certainly was. And it is every year. And then hopefully with everything that's gone on the last couple of years, the pandemic, hopefully that they'll be able to get back and have that now each year. And it's just a fun, family fun thing to go to.
It was a lot of fun.
Plenty of good food.
And a lot of history.
A lot of history, a lot of good entertainment that was there. But I don't know if there's anything around close to the city or not. I do know that probably the baseball all-stars tournaments and things like that are probably getting ready to get cranked up, and you may catch me up there. And if you're up there and you want to talk, just come right up and we'll start talking about the upcoming election.
Well, I appreciate you coming out. We're actually recording this podcast right now at the Redbird Realty office right here in downtown Dixon. Redbird Realty sponsors a team out in Charlotte, a little team, and they just concluded their season just a few days ago. My sister and brother both coach the team, and brother-in-law, and my niece is on the team, and so we've had a lot of fun coming out to Charlotte to the ball field there, and luckily niece made All-Stars, so it looks like might run into you out there because I'll be coming out there to watch her team represent Charlotte.
Well, good.
And, so that'll be fun, and again, I appreciate you coming on the show. Do you know when voting is?
I'm pretty sure that early voting begins July 1st and runs through the 17th. I think that's correct.
I think you're right.
And of course, then the election day is August the 4th.
And it sounds like a long way away, but it's really not that far.
No, it's not. When you're trying to get things organized for this election, time certainly passes by.
And just to clarify, who actually can vote for you? Because, I live in Burns, so I don't think I'm eligible. It would only be people who, I guess, live right there in Charlotte, in the city limits.
People who live inside the city limits or who own property inside the city limits. So, you may live in Burns or White Bluff, but if you own a piece of property in Charlotte, if you own a business in Charlotte, you are still eligible to vote.
Interesting. Well, I'll keep that in mind. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to tell the listeners before we close out here?
I just would like to tell everyone how much I appreciate this opportunity I've had to sit down with you and discuss and talk about these things that concern who I am in the upcoming election.
Well, I know you're not real big on social media, but I appreciate you doing this and sitting down with me and letting me put it out there on social media so that people will have a chance to kind of figure out who you are.
Sure.
And again, I really appreciate that. Thanks to everybody for listening. If you would like to be on the show, all you got to do is just contact me on Facebook, or you can send me an email at coachspurlock@gmail.com. And if you're running for office here in Dickson County, you want to be on the show, all you got to do is just reach out, and we'll figure out a time and a date, and we'll get you on the show. Again, thanks to everybody for listening, and everybody have a good day.